Oh, hello everyone. Long time no see. I really didn't realize that it's been 2 months since I posted my last YouTube video, and in that video I was like, oh my god, I'm back. I'm gonna, post regularly again, but then that ended up not happening, so I'm so sorry. I'm like, I can only blame myself, okay? It is all my fault. Today I really am back because I am doing a new version of a popular video that I posted last year, which are spooky romance book recommendations. So dark romance books, perfect for spooky season. It's September, babes. It's spooky season. I may not be decorated in my room for Halloween yet because my stuff is in storage, but understand, I'm ready to go. I have my ghost earrings. I have on my Casper shirt that I just got at Aerie, by the way. It's very comfortable. I have a pumpkin coffee, and I'm ready to talk to you guys about spooky romance books. These books also vary in darkness. Some are pretty dang dark. Some are more on the lighter side, but I will explain obviously in the video. Yeah, today we are just going to hang out. I'm going to give you 10 book recommendations, again, that I think are perfect if you are looking for darker romance books to add to your spooky season slash fall TBR. So let's just get right on into the recommendations. I do own a couple of these books physically, but I am not digging through my collection trying to find them, so I will just post the picture of the cover. But the first book I'm going to talk about that actually inspired this video, because I read it and I was like, oh, this is actually a really good book for this time of year, is A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley. This was my first Karina Halley book, and it definitely won't be my last, especially going into the fall spooky season, because she does have other books in her backlist perfect for this time of year, but the one I'm going to talk about today is A Ship of Bones and Teeth, and this is a pirate siren fantasy dark romance book. I listened to the audio and I loved it so much. I'm not the biggest fantasy person. I say this a lot. I definitely need to like a specific type of fantasy romance to connect with it, and this is the exact kind that I love. First up, I do love pirate books. I'm very biased towards pirate romances. I'm always going to be obsessed with that aesthetic, and this book is literally The Little Mermaid meets Pirates of the Caribbean, because it starts with our main girl in a very Little Mermaid situation where she wants to have legs so she can marry this prince, but then it turns out that that prince isn't exactly what, the man that she wanted, but she bargains with the sea witch anyway and ends up on land, married to this man, no longer a siren. Then her and her terrible prince husband get kidnapped by pirates, and that's where the main guy comes in. So it's like captor captive. They're on a pirate ship. This book is spicy and hot as hell. Like, woo, Karina Halley, I really see you. I just had so much fun with the audiobook. Totally recommend it that way, or if you read it with your eyes. I had the best time. Like, I'll be thinking about this book for the rest of the year. It's definitely one of my favorite books of the year so far. For two books that go hand in hand, I read, I don't even know how long ago now, but Phantom by Greer Rivers is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a dark, modern Phantom of the Opera retelling, and I will say it's very on the nose to like the Phantom of the Opera movie, and Phantom of the Opera is one of my favorite things ever in the world. I've seen the musical on Broadway. I've seen the movie so many times. I listen to the soundtrack constantly. It's one of my all-time favorite musicals. It's truly one of my Roman empires. So when I found out that there was a dark, spicy romance inspired by it, I was thrilled. I had a really fun time with this book. It's literally about a girl. I'm pretty sure she's in college, and obviously she's an opera singer. Again, it's darker, and I think it's kind of like a mafia-ish element to it, but I remember just having a blast with this audiobook. I will say I read it, I feel like a while ago now, so I don't remember everything about it perfectly, but I do know that Greer has other books in the series that are inspired by like Sweeney Todd and Moulin Rouge and like Penny Dreadful, and I need to get to those books as well, because I did have such a good time with this one. I just feel like if you like dark romance, if you like Phantom of the Opera, you will enjoy this book. I had such a ball. So I'm just going to throw in the fact that I very recently listened to the audiobook for the original Phantom of the Opera, like the original classic book, and I loved it. I personally had an amazing time. I loved the book. I have so much respect for the book, and I'm so happy that I finally got to it because it's been a goal of mine for a while to get to the actual Phantom of the Opera book because I love anything connected to the story, and it didn't disappoint. Another book that I read recently on my Kindle, we have Little Stranger by, I think, what is the author of this? Lee Rivers? I have Greer Rivers. I'm pretty sure this is Lee Rivers. If I'm getting her name wrong, I'm just confused, but it's on the screen. This is the first book, I will say, in an unfinished duet. This is a dark, I'm gonna say this is definitely one of the darkest books on this list. Please check trigger warnings. This is a step-sibling romance, and the book literally starts off with her when she's younger picking up the new stepbrother from the airport. He has been through traumatic stuff, so he doesn't speak. So the first part of the book is them when they're younger into them being like teenagers, you know, like adults, like, you know, 18 years old, whatever. And that relationship, he is very, very, very protective and just very like basically claims her the moment he sees her. So it's that kind of relationship. There is a part 2 to this book, and this book was just a wild time. I will say I did find it very entertaining. I mean, the spice was spicing, especially in the second half. If you know, you know. There is also a part that takes place like on Halloween. So again, a really great time to read this book. I really recommend this book because it's so short, and I did finish it pretty dang quickly. It was very entertaining. It was well paced. I feel like the chapters were short, so it flowed really nicely. But again, it definitely scratched that itch that I needed of wanting to read like a quick, dark, spicy book. So if you haven't read this one yet, definitely check it out. And again, definitely check your trigger warnings because that trigger warnings list is real long. And I mean, I read it and I went for it and I did have a fun time. The only monster romance I'm going to include on this list, because I promise you, I will do a monster romance book rec. If I had $1 for every time I said I was going to do one of those videos, I'm so sorry. The most like spooky season this time of year monster romance that I want to recommend to you that's also a sapphic romance is Lady Venom Takes a Mistress by Kat Blackthorne. I have other books by Kat on my TBR that I'm so excited to get to because I really enjoyed this book so much. I will say I feel like this book is actually a very good introduction to monster romance because while like Lady Venom is technically like a monster, I wouldn't say it's not like she's like a kraken or like a dragon. I just feel like it's an easier transition into monster romance if you've never read one before, because it's not so like, oh my god, I'm reading about a love interest that has a big tail. I love the fantasy elements in this book. I love that it was a period piece. It's again a super quick read. I actually listened to it on audio. The audiobook is kind of like a graphic audiobook, meaning that it has like sound effects and stuff. So that was really fun. I mean, that was definitely a unique listening experience. It's about this girl who like escapes her town and ends up, you know, with Lady Venom, and she's like, oh no, you will be my mistress. So she escapes the scary men in her town into the arms of Lady Venom, and again, it is just hot as hell, and I personally really adored it. For another perfect, when I tell you perfect spooky season novella, we have No Place to Hide. This book is very straight to the point. It is about a girl who goes to a carnival and ends up in a game of cat and mouse with a guy who works there, and it's all of the chasing, all of the primal play that you would want. As someone who loves chasing, this novella was for me. I remember I read it on my Kindle, I'm pretty sure in like one night because it's pretty dang short, but it does take place on Halloween. I'm so sure. I think it's definitely Halloween, right? Because I'm like, I can't remember if she was in a costume or not, but it doesn't matter. It's either like a Halloween fair or whatever. You know, he's wearing a mask, so it's for sure very strong Halloween vibes. I just loved it. It was quick, it was hot, and I had a lot of fun. There's not really much to say about this book except that. Also pretty kinky and dark as well, so if there are triggers, definitely check your trigger warnings on this one too. And for sure, without a doubt, the darkest book that I'm going to recommend to you, but it is the most perfect Halloween time book because it is directly inspired by my all-time favorite movie, Nightmare Before Christmas. We have The Skeleton King by Charity B. This book is gnarly. This book is not for the faint of heart. I think if you are maybe a massive, massive, massive Nightmare Before Christmas fan like me, and a massive dark, and I mean dark, 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 disturbing romance reader, you will enjoy this book. This is not the first time I've brought up this book on my page. Every time I talk about it, I want to give proper triggers because even the first chapter of this book can be quite like intense. Definitely not a dark romance book that you start with, but I really just love this book. This book will never leave my mind. I'm obsessed. It's one of my all-time favorite dark romances because I found it, for as gross as it is and parts of it can be, I found the romance in it to actually be quite beautiful. I stand by that, okay? I stand by that. I remember when I was reading this book, I was getting a lot of messages on Instagram of people being like, this book traumatized me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, girl, I totally get it. But let's just say this is the recommendation if you are the darkest of dark, dark, dark romance reader. Like if you read like Lauren Beale, it's even more intense than Little Stranger. But if you read Little Stranger already, you might be able to dip your toe into this one. Just always do your research before going into any dark romance book. But if this book sounds like something that could be for you, I would check it out. Again, it's Nightmare Before Christmas inspired, and let's just say our guy maybe has a habit of having relations with things that maybe aren't living. Maybe there's no pulse. Like maybe if you know what I'm saying, that's something that is definitely heavy in this book. And also what our girl who's equivalent to the Sally character goes through is also very, very disturbing. This book is just wacky. It's a wackadoodle-doo. It's wackadoodle time. But again, I have a very soft spot for it. I love it so much. Switching gears to something that is actually really great for beginners to dark romance. If you like paranormal romance, fantasy-ish romance, we have The Coven by Harper L. Woods. I have not read the other book in the series. I can't remember if this book is a duet or only like a 3-book series, but either way, I read The Coven and I had such a good time with it. This book, I'm pretty sure the main girl is a witch and the guy, again, I don't know if I want to spoil what he is, so maybe I won't, but let's just say the main girl is a witch. She goes to this college. It is forbidden because it is like professor student. I just remember this book was so well paced and fun and action packed. Like every chapter ended on like a cliffhanger basically, especially at the start, and I was just so beyond invested. The more I think about this book, the more I really do need to get to book 2 because I had such a great time with this one. But again, it's that fall, not really dark academia, but you know, she is at like this academy because again, she's a witch and she has these powers and there's other darkness and fantasy elements going on, paranormal stuff. So if that all sounds like your vibe and you haven't checked this book out, totally do. There's good spice in it. And again, my kind of fantasy because it was short, it was easy to understand, and it was a lot of fun. Switching to another dark romance book that I've talked about on this page multiple times, but again, this is the perfect time of year to read Gothicana by Runix. I love this book. I listened to this book on audio and I remember I had such a great time. I was so obsessed with it. This is a dark academia book. There's also a murder mystery in it. It's student teacher, but I will say there's not so much of a big age gap between them. So if you don't like student teacher books because of like any age gaps, that's really not the case here. He's like early 20s and she's maybe like 19 or something. I remember they said she was like older for her age. This book is fall. This book is spooky season. I feel like you can't not read this book and just not be in the mood for spooky season. It was really well done. I, again, really recommend the audiobooks. I had such a great time with it. If you're looking for a dark academia book, this will be right up your alley. Like, how can you not? I really, really enjoyed this book. Another book that I have mentioned multiple times on my page, but I'll bring it up one more time because, again, this is a really good time to read it. We have That Sick Love by Jessie Hall. Another super dark romance book on this list along the lines of like Little Stranger. This book is about a girl who gets stalked. She has the stalker and it's like a game of cat and mouse, but he really just, he shows up, man, and there's a lot of kink in here, a lot of spice. It is on the longer side, but I still found it to be very, 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 very entertaining, honestly, for it being a dark, spicy, dark romance book. I find it to be one of the best of its kind. Jessie Hall is a really talented writer. I mean, there's like every kink in the book, in this book, just so you know. Like stalkers, if you like men who are always around, you will have fun with this book, but just know that it's pretty crazy. Like, it's definitely pretty kooky, pretty wild, but everyone who I know who's read it had a good time with it. All right, everyone, so that was it. That was my updated list of even more books that are perfect for spooky season. The one that I did last year, I will link down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. It means the world to me, and if you would like, please like this video, comment, subscribe, follow all of my socials that are linked below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!